Now today's class is our introductory class to Pinterest. We're going to be learning how to get started on Pinterest, including creating our account, doing our initial settings setup, creating and following Pinterest boards, and also creating some manual pins as well. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the Pinterest website here. Now in the guidebook for today's class, I show you how to go about creating your Pinterest account using Facebook. With that particular method, you are creating a personal Pinterest account, but you can always go back in and change the information on that account at a later point in time. So simply creating your account with Facebook is a quick and easy option to get started. The only drawback that I can really see with setting up a personal Pinterest account is that they ask you for a first and last name. And while you could easily put your website name and split it up between a first and a last name, you can put your entire business name in when you go through and actually create a business account instead. So since I've already detailed the personal sign up with Facebook option in the guidebook, I would like to show you the sign up with email option in today's class, because this is the only way you can actually go about getting a business account on Pinterest. So to start with, once you are on this screen, you have your initial information that you can provide to create your account. But this is really only for creating a personal Pinterest account. If you want to create a business account, you need to go down here and click on this text link. This will open up a larger form for you where you can then proceed and create your business account. So to start with, you have to choose a business type. You could technically sort a niche Amazon website into one or more of these possible categories, but if you don't feel like any of them are a good fit for you, you could just go for the other category. It's really not going to make a major difference for us here. Now next we have our contact information. This contact information is simply to be used to set up your account. So like my contact name, for example, it's not going to end up showing up as the name on my Pinterest account. What's actually going to show up is the information down below here, the profile info. You simply need to set up a business name, which could be the name of your website, or you can also decide to make it your website.com, whatever your domain name is. I'll go ahead and use this particular option. I've actually already created my actual Pinterest account that I will be using for my website. I created this last night in the original class. But I still would like to at least show you the beginnings of all of this so you can see how this works. So next up you have your username selection. you have to select something that is between 3 and 15 characters in length. You could use your business name, so I could use Carbon Fanatic in this case, but you can also use a username that reflects a keyword phrase. In general, whatever the main keyword phrase would be that your site would be targeting, that could potentially be a good keyword phrase to use here, as long as it fits. It has to be under 15 characters in length. I used Carbon Fiber Wrap for my original account. As you can see, this username is already in use because I have taken it. This is a keyword phrase that can help to attract traffic for me. Now, compared with some of the other social networks, Twitter, for example, there are some big differences. On Twitter, your tweets that you make essentially come and go. You have people following your account, they see your tweets in their news feed, and as other accounts that they are following post more tweets, those tweets start to disappear, get further down the page. Well, on Pinterest, things work a little different than that. The posts that you make on Pinterest, which are called pins, these are actually going to hang around, and people will see these weeks, months, maybe even years into the future. So for this reason, it is more worthwhile to set up Pinterest using keyword phrases that can help to attract search engine traffic for you. So that is a primary reason why I am setting a keyword phrase as my username. And then to continue on with that same idea, I want to embellish on that keyword phrase a little more in the description of my profile. So I want to try to describe what my site is going to be about, what kind of pins people could expect to see from me on my Pinterest account, and this is also a great place to put some relational keyword phrases as well. So just as an example, I can say carbonfanatic.com reports on the latest automotive industry news and fan projects with carbon fiber vinyl. So I'm using some relational keywords like carbon fiber vinyl. Automotive is another one that will help to put me in that relational territory. I would honestly want to continue on, try to use up all the available characters that you can there, just to take advantage of as much content being on this page that you have control over as possible. Now for your logo image, just like you did with Twitter, try to use something that relates to your niche. So I would go and hunt through the pictures of carbon fiber cars or sports cars that I had put together for this website, and I would use one of those images here for my profile image. That way when people see this, they immediately think of, at least in the vague territory, of what my niche is about. And finally, you want to enter your website address. carbonfanatic.com for me. Later on, you will go through and actually verify this website address. But for now, at least, you don't have to do that particular step in the process until you're actually in your account. Now, I'm going to change my username here just so I can go ahead and create this actual account. This brings me into my homepage here on Twitter, or on Pinterest, excuse me. And this page will show pins from Pinterest. But ultimately, this can all be customized to your liking. So you end up seeing pins from relational topics and niches, so you can potentially take this information and repin it to your Pinterest account as well. So I'd like to walk you through some of the basics here before I jump in to start teaching you some specifics about getting set up and running on Pinterest. First of all, if you look down below, each of these different items, the box and also the corresponding text that is found below the picture, this is a single pin. In case you have never used Pinterest before, a pin is very similar to like a tweet or a Facebook post, for example, except on Pinterest, everything is image-based. Every post that you make has an associated image to go along with it. And it's not really the post content that is the star of what you're doing on Pinterest. The image is the star of what you're doing. So for the types of websites we are building, where we have these daily blog posts going on and we have an image associated with each of those blog posts, this makes for an ideal situation to transfer that over to Pinterest, because everything here is image-based. These pins on my homepage here, Lee, are simply here by default. These are just pins from all over Pinterest. But as you get more into Pinterest and you start to follow some boards yourself and have different activity on Pinterest, they will then begin to show you more relational pins to what you are trying to target, basically. And you'll see that here in just a little while. All this will start to transform into more relational stuff. Now, beyond the pins themselves, the one other main aspect to Pinterest that you need to understand is a Pinterest board. A Pinterest board can be thought of as a category that is used to organize pins into different topics. So each board has different images that are pinned to it. So using this concept, you can create a variety of Pinterest boards that are targeting different topics within your niche and what your website is about. This allows you to not just target one single keyword phrase, but potentially a handful of decent keyword phrases. So to get started here, I'm going to show you how to create your first Pinterest board, and this will also be technically creating your first pin as well. To do this, I am simply going to go up top here and search for something relational. So I could search for carbon fiber or carbon fiber vinyl. I don't necessarily like the little pre-fill thing on Pinterest, but it can be useful sometimes to help you find some additional keywords that you can search. So now that I have performed this search here, you can see that I have a lot of posts available to me that are relational to my niche. So I can then go through and just pick one of these and enlarge it to look at it in a little more detail, and if it is a pin that I like and I think is relational to my account, I can repin it to my account. Just like with Twitter, where you can take other people's tweets and retweet them to your account and potentially get the attention of that person, maybe even their followers, and get them to start republishing some of your content for you as well. The same thing can happen here on Pinterest. So all you have to do is click on the Pin It button for an image that you have found elsewhere on Pinterest. And this will allow you to add it to your account. Now, I had briefly talked to you about Pinterest boards already. We now need to create our first board since we don't have any created yet. So all we have to do is click on Create Your First Board right here. There are some suggested topics down below, which is pretty much just general type of stuff. What I would recommend to do, though, is to set your own name that is customized to your niche. But I don't really just want to have one board here. For example, I could easily create a board that was carbon fiber vinyl, and every single pin that I created and put on my Pinterest account could obviously go into that one board, and that would work out okay. But it's better to break your niche down into a variety of different topics. So you can create a board centered around each of those topics and therefore end up getting some search engine traffic or Pinterest traffic potentially through those relational topics because you're getting more specific. So you're covering a wider variety of keyword phrases that people can potentially search for. So for my niche, I could do something like carbon fiber cars, carbon fiber vinyl cars. I could continue on and have a different board for each different type of vehicle that I might potentially cover. So I could have carbon fiber motorcycles and carbon fiber trucks and carbon fiber racing cars. And I could even get more specific beyond that and have some boards that are just about accessories or just about the vinyl wrap itself, things of that nature. This will allow me to break my carbon fiber vinyl niche down into a number of different subcategories essentially. And this will help to keep my pins more organized on Pinterest and also help me to attract traffic from this work in the future. So I can go ahead here and just create a board called carbon fiber cars and sort this particular pin into that board. Now down below we have a description for this pin. When you're repinning somebody else's pin, you get to use their description if you want to. However, you're not limited to leaving it how it is. I can go back through, and where it says repinned on the end here, this particular person liked to put their website address on the end of each of their repins, which can help you to build some traffic for your own website. Because when you're repinning this pin, the pin itself might be linked up to a web page. However, that web page is not our web page because the pin was not our pin. But we can still build traffic to our web page through other people's pins using this particular method here. Just put repinned by and put your website address down at the end of it. Then when you post that pin, we can find it by going to your profile and pins up here in the menu, and you can see the pin right here. So notice now in the description of this pin, my website address is linked up. Of course, I didn't put the correct website address, paying more attention to what I'm trying to talk about instead. But this can easily be edited if needed. So now I have my actual website address there, so people can actually reach my site, even though this pin is not my pin. Now, this will still link up to potentially another person's website or to another person's Pinterest account. You can see right here that it lists the source of my pin as being this particular person's account. So it will cross-promote that person, but I'm still building content here for my own Pinterest account and still potentially building traffic for my account as well. Now this particular guy, it looks like he's based in Germany, and I really can't understand anything of what he's doing here, but he obviously uses this tactic with a lot of success because this is where this pin came from. This was not a pin of his. This was actually a pin that he repinned from somebody else. And he does this type of thing a lot. He actually has 32,000 people that follow him as a result, and he has 27,000 pins. And I guarantee you he hasn't created all of those. It's just a lot of repinned content from elsewhere on the internet and on Pinterest. So you can do the same type of thing with your own account in your website to boost the amount of content you have out there on Pinterest. And this will be in addition to the content that you're already going to be putting out there from your website. So while doing all this repinning can technically be considered optional, it can be beneficial for you to take a little bit of time each day and maybe just spend 15 minutes and go through Pinterest and try to find one or two relational pins that you could repin to your own account. So now I would like to show you how you can go about creating more Pinterest boards. I had talked to you before about creating a variety of different boards that would cover a different topic within your niche, I would recommend going through and creating these different boards before you start, instead of simply going through and creating the boards one at a time as you are creating new pins that would go into that board. Now, the reason why I recommend going through all at once and creating these boards is because when you do it through this page, you can access this page by going up here to the menu and just click on your profile and pins. Then you will come to the page where it lists the boards that you have already created. And over here on the left, you have a Create a Board button. So when I click on this, I have more information here that I'm being asked for than I had previously been asked for. The first time I went through and created a Pinterest board, it only asked me for a name of that board, but I now have options here for a description and also a category for my board. There's even two more features down here, but these two features I don't find very important, and you will likely not be using them. But the description and the category I find to be very important. And if you only create your boards when you're repinning other people's pins, then you may never even know that your boards can have a description and a category. So that is why I recommend going through here and creating each of your boards before you get started. So I could just go through and create more boards like carbon fiber motorcycles for different vehicle types. And then for my description, I would want to back up whatever it is that I'm trying to target with the name of my board. So for my description here, I could talk about bikes and motorcycles and carbon fiber and, riding and maybe even helmets or something of that nature. For my category, I want to pick a relational category as close as I possibly can to what it is that I am trying to do. There could potentially be multiple things that could fit. I could maybe try to say this is products or outdoors or maybe even sports or something like that. But cars and motorcycles is obviously a more relational fit here to what my niche and this particular board is about. So this would be my obvious choice, but it's possible when you're creating some of your own boards, there may not be an obvious choice for a category. Simply try to find the closest possible fit, and if you can't get something that is closely related like this category is for my niche, then just try to go a little bit more general than what you're trying to target. For example, if there was no cars and motorcycles category at all, I would probably be inclined to go for outdoors or potentially products. There's even an other category if all else fails. Now, the reason why it's important to set a category here is because people can search for boards based on categories, which I will show you in just a little while here. Now, ultimately, I'm not going to worry about writing a description here for this particular board now because I'm actually not going to be using this account permanently. I already have the previous account that I created. Now, any board that you had already made through repinning from the home page, you can still go back through and edit those boards to provide that extra information that you could not provide the first time around. So we can write our description now for the board, and we can also specify a category for the board. Now, just to point this out to you, your description here again for your board can be used to help boost the content and potential search engine rankings of this particular page on Pinterest. So make sure you use relational keyword phrases, because whatever content you put in that description will end up showing up above here. I'll just put in a brief description so you can see. So you'll have your title and then your description showing up right below it, and then you will have all the different pins and the descriptions of those pins listed on that particular page. So when you combine all of this content together, all these images, all the descriptions, your title, your main description, you end up with enough content to where you can achieve search engine rankings if you keep all of your content close enough together on a single topic and subject. So now, continuing on from here, I want to go into the actual account now. I'm going to go into my settings so I can make some adjustments to my profile. Now, on this page, we have a lot of different settings available. And over here on the left, we have a menu, and this menu takes us to each of those different sections of this page. So this is not separate settings pages here. All this is on this one page, and this is simply to make it a little easier to get to the parts that you need to. Now, up in the top section, the two main things of importance is the search privacy. You want to make sure this is set to no, because you need search engines to be able to index these pages if you want any hope of getting search engine traffic through them. And then for personalization, I usually set this to where Pinterest is only looking at my activity on Pinterest and not actually activity on other sites that I've been visiting. So beyond those couple of basic settings, the main thing I'm really interested in here is my profile. My profile contains all of the relevant information about my website and what I'm trying to do. This was all information that I got to set up when I was creating my account. However, if you create your account using the Facebook option, it's going to automatically populate all of this information for you. So it'll have your name filled out. It'll use your same Facebook username on Pinterest, and there won't be anything in about you or the website, for example. So you would actually need to come to this profile and adjust that information if you decide to go through with creating a personal account. Now, even if you use the business account option to where you've already provided all this information, there's still one thing that you need to return to this page for, and that is to click on this Verify Website button. So you can verify that you are actually the owner of your domain name. So to do this, we have two options. We can either download a verification file and upload this file to our website and then just click on complete verification. Or if you do not have access to upload files, or maybe you just don't know how to do it and you just want to stick to WordPress, you can do that as well with the verify with a meta tag option. Just click on this text link right here, and then you just copy all the text in this box. Make sure you get everything in the box because there is some information here that you really can't see. And then what you want to do is copy this and then take this back over to your website. This needs to go in the header section of every page throughout your website so Pinterest can verify it. So to accomplish this, we can use the Weaver 2 theme. Just go to Weaver 2 Admin in the Appearance menu, and then go to Advanced Options and the Head Section tab. And then scroll down the page and look for Head Section. And all you have to do is paste that meta tag in to that text box right there. Save your settings, and then simply return to Pinterest and click on the complete verification button. Now once you do this, your website should show up here as being verified, but you may need to refresh the page first before it'll actually show that to you. Now since this is not the account that I'm going to be using, I'm not actually going to proceed with verifying this website here. I actually have the meta tag here from my other Pinterest account set up already. So I'm going to proceed on from there. One last thing, the location. Typically I would recommend leaving this blank unless you happen to be targeting some kind of a niche that is location based. And then you might want to try to attract people from a particular area. But otherwise, you might simply want to leave this blank if you're just trying to target anybody that's interested in this niche. So beyond that, the email notifications down below here. I find these to be important settings to pay attention to. Not necessarily because you want to make changes to the settings, but you need to know how Pinterest works to be able to take advantage of it. Now what I'm referring to are the situations that Pinterest will generate an email notification to other Pinterest users. Just like we were doing on Twitter, where we could follow another person's account and it would generate an email notification to that person, and that person might then return and take a look at what we're doing and possibly follow our account. The same thing can happen here on Pinterest. The only thing is, though, you need to know what those situations are that are going to cause those notifications to get generated. So that is why I recommend taking a close look at each of these different settings here. If you repin a pin from somebody else, it will generate an email notification. If you like somebody else's pin, if you follow somebody else or follow one of their boards, it will generate these email notifications. Now there are other situations where it will generate an email, but those are the main ones that you will find yourself using and taking advantage of. So by repinning stuff and liking other pins and following other people, you're going to be generating these email notifications, and you can potentially build up your own account by just interacting with other people's accounts. Now when you're using that tactic, just keep in mind who your target audience really is. You can go after some accounts on Pinterest that you could consider your direct competitors, essentially, and try to repin their pins or follow their boards in hopes that they might return and follow your board and start repinning some of your stuff too. That is a good strategy to use because that can help you to build up your account here on Pinterest and help to build up more of a following. But ultimately, those direct competitors are not going to be your customers, your loyal readers of your website. What you really want is to get the people that are following those people, the people that are following your direct competitors. And you want to try to generate some email notifications for them. You don't necessarily have to follow their boards, just go through and like some of their pins or repin some of their pins to let them know about you. Otherwise, if you're only going through your direct competitors, you may find that not a lot of those people end up following you back because it's not that they're not interested in what you're doing, but it's just that they're not your ideal customer, basically. So I think it's beneficial to try to target both types of accounts on Pinterest. Target your direct competitors some to try to get some people that can repin your pins and things of that nature, but then also make sure you're going after the people that are really going to be your loyal readers and the people that might end up buying products through your site. Now, the last thing here on this page that I want to talk about is the social networks settings. These settings allow you to connect a social network account with your Pinterest account. Now, if you created your account using Facebook, this will already be connected here to log in with Facebook. But the one main problem that I have with that whole situation and how all that works, this is an account that I created with the Facebook option. So this is a personal Pinterest account as opposed to a business Pinterest account. This personal Pinterest account, I log into it with my Facebook account, and on my profile page on Pinterest, I have a little icon for Facebook. But the big problem with that is it's connecting to my personal Facebook page. It's not actually connecting up to my Facebook fan page that I've created for this particular website. So I don't like that connection being there. If you happen to create that personal account, you might want to actually go through and remove the Facebook connection from it so that personal link doesn't show. However, I've been a little curious whether Pinterest would do this any differently with the business account. So when you connect Pinterest up to Facebook, just to point this out to you, I go over this in the guidebook. Pinterest will try to post to Facebook for you. And if you don't want your friends seeing those posts, you can change this to just only me, and it'll post privately to Facebook for you, so other people don't end up seeing that information. So yeah, it looks like even with a business account, they still don't offer another option to change where that link is going to get generated to. So it looks like Facebook really isn't feasible to use to connect up with your Pinterest account in this manner. However, I do recommend connecting up your Twitter account because it will properly connect up to your business Twitter page. And that in turn will generate, let me save my settings real quick. That in turn will generate a profile link for me. So I will then have a link directly to my Twitter page for my website. So while you can't get Facebook connected up here, you can at least get Twitter connected up here correctly to your business page. So now I want to continue on and show you guys how to go about creating some activity on Pinterest so you can generate some of those email notifications out to other people's accounts. One of the easiest ways that you can do this and also build up a little bit of content for you to see in your Pinterest newsfeed at the same time is to go through and follow some Pinterest boards. If you go up here to the menu and then go to follow boards, this window will open where it asks you to select a category. These categories right here are the categories that were available for you to select when you were creating your own board. So this is why it is important for you to actually assign a category to the boards that you create. Otherwise, you won't even show up in these results at all. You know, it's just, it won't even be a possibility. Now you may notice that there's a limited selection of categories right here. Whereas when we were creating our board, there were a lot of different categories available to us. These initial categories that are shown here should be the most popular categories on all of Pinterest. My wife uses Pinterest a lot. She's into art and do-it-yourself and crafts and home decor and a little bit of humor and photography and design type of stuff too. And I've always considered her to kind of be the ideal user of Pinterest. She's actually been using Pinterest longer than I have. And so if you happen to be within one of these categories here, you may find that Pinterest can potentially be a really good ally to help market your website. Now, if you're not in one of these main categories, it's still okay. You can still get interest off of Pinterest. However, it just may not be potentially at the level that some of these other ones could be, but it still can be very worthwhile to still use Pinterest. So if you just click on the More Interest button right here, it will expand this list and show you all of the other categories that were offered to you the first time around. So I can now click on Cars and Motorcycles and browse through this list to try to find some relational boards that I can follow. Now, from glancing at this list, you may notice that there's really nothing here that is highly relational to what I'm doing. You know, I don't see any carbon fiber boards. That's quite okay. In this main listing here, when you're searching by category, you may not find the most relevant boards. You'll find things within your general realm of what you're trying to target, but you may not find exactly what you're trying to target. Regardless, you can still try to follow some other boards this way. They recommend for you to try to find 5 boards that you can follow, and this will help to fill your news feed with some relational information. So just try to find 5 that fit your niche in one way or another. So I'm going through and picking some sports cars related type of boards because while they're not an exact match to my niche, the people that are running those boards and the people that are following those boards may potentially still be interested in what my niche is about because my niche is car related, especially with sports cars and things like that. So I can now go back to Pinterest.com and see my news feed, and instead of just being a bunch of general Pinterest pins, I now have relational pins that are closer to what my topic is going to be about, at least. Now I can continue on and find even more boards to follow, but I don't have to use that exact strategy. I can actually do what I started out doing, just search for a relational term. So this first guy that I was repinning his post from, instead of going through and repinning things, I can look down below at his information. If you look at the box that is at the bottom of each pin, you see the person's name in terms of their Pinterest name or business name, and then you see the board that they have pinned this particular pin to. So right here with these 2 different pins, they're both by Sophia Yu, but one is in a board called Graffiti Car Stickers, and the other one is in a board called just Car Stickers. So these are actually 2 different boards, but it's from the same person. So you can easily find a variety of different boards that you can follow using this searching method. And the boards themselves still may not be exactly aligned with your niche. It may cover some topics that your website would not cover. But as long as you're searching for a keyword phrase and finding some pins in these boards that use those particular topics, then you should at least be in some relational territory here. So what you do is right-click on one of these boards and open it in a new tab. And then you can jump over here and simply follow the board. Now another thing that you can do is instead of just following the person's board, if you see their username over here off to the left, then you can click on this and get to their actual page. So this Sophia Yu person has 21 different boards. So while I could have gone through and followed one of her boards like this and picked out this other board and followed it as well, I can simply follow all 21 boards by going to her page and just clicking on Follow All. Now, this won't always work out. You know, with this particular person, you can actually see some of their stuff is about cars, but then, you know, they have some boards that cover completely different topics that I obviously would not want to be following for this particular site. But then you'll have other people that will have a lot of boards, and they're all going to be relational to what your niche is going to be about, and you can easily follow all of their boards instead of just a specific board of theirs. So continue through this process and try to collect a bunch of different boards and other Pinterest users that are involved in the same type of stuff as you. And, obviously follow their accounts. Now, beyond that, you can also find the people that they follow by just visiting a board and looking at the people that are following that board. And then you can simply follow these people. Or you could possibly go through and maybe just like some of their pins just to generate some email notifications. Ideally, these people could potentially be your loyal readers and the people that actually buy stuff from the ads that you're building on your site. Now, in addition to searching pins, you have some other choices up here. You can also search boards, or you can search pinners, the different Pinterest user accounts. Searching pinners, there is not anybody using the phrase carbon fiber vinyl in their name. But if I shorten this to something like carbon fiber, for example, which it is not letting me search, then I will come up with a number of different users that all contain carbon fiber in their username or business name. So this can help me to find some different accounts than the accounts that were showing up under the pins. And then I can also do the same thing with the boards. The boards will help me to follow some highly relational carbon fiber boards without having to go through and open up a bunch of different windows. But you'll reach a point where you may not have enough boards to choose from for whatever your keyword phrase is or topic. If that's the case, it actually looks like I have a ton to select from that contain the word carbon fiber. But if I search carbon fiber vinyl, there is a lot less of them. So sometimes you just need to get a little more vague with your searches to find enough boards that you can follow. And other times you may need to simply rely on searching the pins because you're going to be searching words that are within the description of these pins, and you'll find boards and people that do not have those keywords in their name or in the name of the board. And these can still be some good boards to follow and people to follow, and you won't find these unless you're searching the pins. So just try to use a bit of a variety of the different search options here so you can find as many different potential boards that you can follow as possible. Now in the next Pinterest class, we again will be continuing on with more Pinterest learning, and specifically we will be learning how to automate our Pinterest pins directly from our WordPress site. But at least for now, I want to show you how to create manual pins. This can give you something to do over the next couple of weeks, and it will also allow you to take advantage of any content you may have already created on your site. I've compared Twitter and Pinterest a couple of times throughout this class. I mentioned in the Twitter class that you don't necessarily need to go back through all of your old posts and create tweets for them. However, I don't recommend the same thing with Pinterest. In fact, I recommend you go through every single one of your past posts and pin them to your Pinterest account. The reason being for that is your posts on Pinterest have a lot more longevity than they do on Twitter. When somebody is following your Twitter account, they're following likely many other accounts at the same time. So then when you post a tweet, only people that happen to be on Twitter at that point in time may end up seeing your post if they follow a lot of people. Otherwise, if they come onto Twitter an hour later and they're following a couple thousand people, your tweet is probably not going to be easy to find, at least through the news feed of your followers. However, on Pinterest, things work a little differently. You have these pins that get organized on boards, and they're not organized, chronologically like things on Twitter are. So your pins have a lot more exposure over time. And as a result, you can easily build a lot of content on your Pinterest account pretty quickly by simply repinning all that content that you may already have on your site. Some of you have 30, 60, even upwards of 90 posts on your site by this point. So now, I want to show you how to get all of those posts off of your site and onto Pinterest, and without having to really kill yourself to do it either. So first off, make sure you have your different boards created that you want to organize these different posts into. Once you have your boards created, you can then go into an individual board and start adding things to that board. As you can see over here, you have an Add a Pin button. However, you can also just click on Pin right here and add a pin. Doing it this way, you could then choose what board you want to sort the pin into. Now I'm actually going to show you two different ways to add a pin. The first one, using this method here, I just click on the web and then it asks me for a website address. So I can just go over to my live website, copy an address from there, and just paste that in here on Pinterest. So once I do this, it looks at that page on my site and it pulls all the different images off of the site to give me a choice of which image I want to pin. So I can find the one that is associated with that post. I can click on the Pin It button. I can then sort the pin into the appropriate board. If I needed to, I could also create a new board up here, and then I can write a description for it. So now, after I have this written out, I just pin this to my account. I have an option of setting up some additional board options there, which I don't need at this moment. And now, once that pin is created, you can see it is available here on one of my boards. Now, I wanted to point this out real quick because when somebody visits this page on Pinterest, which they can find by just clicking on your pin, they can easily repin it, they can like it, and most importantly, they can visit your website. So if somebody clicks on that button there, they end up on that page on your website and can then go and actually purchase some products through your site and earn some commissions for you. They can send your pin to other Pinterest users. They can even share it on their Facebook account. Now, in addition to the Visit Site button, this is just the most visible way that people can get to your page. But if they just click on the main image here, they're going to get to that same page. If they click down here at the bottom, found on carbonfanatic.com, they will also get to that exact same page. So you have a lot of different ways from just your one post that people can easily reach your website. So obviously going through all the pages of your site and doing this, can help to boost your traffic and also help to build up these boards for you when you're first getting started. So it won't look like you have a brand new Pinterest account. You can get this set up and pretty quickly look like you've been on here for a while. So now, the other method that I want to show you involves browsing your actual live website to pin all of the posts from your site onto your Pinterest account. So to do this, you need to be using the Share This option. If you already have this set up, you can just hover over it, and there is a Pinterest option right here. Just click on Pinterest, and this will open up a page. This is still on the Pinterest website, just like the page I was creating before, where I select a board and then write out a description for it. The same thing is available here, except I don't have to copy and paste the URL, and even more importantly, I don't necessarily have to write another description if I don't want to. This description here gets automatically populated from the information on this post. Whatever would end up getting posted as my automated Facebook post for this post that I've created on my site, which is the information that I provide in the Social Networks Listing tab. So my description right here is my description that is being used here on Pinterest automatically. So I can then just proceed through and browse each of the different pages on my site one at a time and quickly share those pages to my Pinterest account. So between now and the next class, where we will start to automate our future posts that we write on our site, just try to go back through, get your Pinterest account set up, follow some relational boards. So you might have some people initially following your account as well, and then go through your site and pin each of the different posts to your Pinterest account.